This is the eLearn podcast. If you're passionate about the future of learning, you're in the right place. The expert guests on this show provide insights into the latest strategies, practices, and technologies for creating killer online learning outcomes. My name's Ladek, and I'm your host from OpenLMS. The eLearn podcast is sponsored by eLearn Magazine, your go-to resource for all things online learning. Click-by-click how-to articles, the latest in edtech, spotlight on successful outcomes and trends in the marketplace. Subscribe today and never miss a post at elearnmagazine.com. And OpenLMS, a company leveraging open source software to deliver effective, customized, and engaging learning experiences for schools, universities, companies, and governments around the world since 2005. Learn more at openlms.net. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eLearn podcast. My name is Ladek, as you just heard. And let's see if I have to remember which finger it is. But yes, I'm coming to you from OpenLMS. And I want to remind everyone that we are actually hosting something special that we're going to talk about today called the AI and Learning Summit. We just think that it's an important enough topic that we're going to put together a whole event about it. It's going to be launched on June 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So that is something that is interesting to you about how artificial intelligence is evolving, changing, disrupting, all of those good things in the learning sector. Please come over and join us there. Tickets are free, and there's going to be lots of cool speakers like I hope. My guest today, Miss Joti Balani from Fresh River herself. How are you today, Joti?
I'm doing great, Ladek. How about yourself?
I'm fine. I'm wonderful. Excellent. As I always like to start these things off with, Joti, tell us, give us the 60 seconds on who you are and what Fresh River is.
Sure. So I'm Joti Balani, founder and managing director of FreshRiver.ai. We're a consultancy focused on the conversational AI and data science space. We do strategy and delivery for Fortune 500 companies. Been in this space since 2018. Prior to that, I had a 22-year corporate career where I grew up as a software engineer, product development, and marketing, all in the wireless and wireline space. So I rode the previous tech curve of wireless and wireline, as well as Ethernet. So now we're talking about AI.
Awesome. And I hear that you have a guest as well.
My apologies. I thought if I put my headphones on, you wouldn't catch that, but you are catching that. I'm so sorry. Normally I kick him out. And I told him to be quiet. Sorry.
I think it makes for a more realistic experience. No worries. We all know that we are all human. We all live in the human universe, right? We've actually had several guests who've had animals join them on the show. It's no problem at all. I even had my cat come once. So that's fantastic. So thanks for that introduction to Fresh River. I thought that your topic that you wanted to talk about was preparing for the exponential age. It made me sit back already, like that, just that word, thinking about it, because I'm already, I think like most people, I've already been drinking from a fire hose for as long as I can remember. And now with the advent of very popular generative AI tools and, how they can be used by every person every day, it just feels like that fire hose got a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. So is that what you mean by the exponential age, or why don't you put that, let's set the stage for what that means.
Sure. So I'm going to start with setting our backdrop from a history standpoint, because everybody knows, when the internet was born 25 years ago or over now, we went through the web age, we went through the mobile age, we've gone through the cloud age. Every time humanity comes up with a new capability, we find ourselves in that moment of time where, economically, socially, politically, we're in this space, and then boom, something comes in and go, oh, how do we adapt and move forward? And usually we have time, till all the frameworks catch up, right? Regulatory or privacy or compliance, right? Everything that makes the world go around, right? And we live in a messy world. We will continue living in a messy world. But here's what's different, right? So, we went through web and mobile, and these are all human to machine interfaces, yeah? Where, humans had to learn how to use these devices and, figure out how to go find our way through the web. We're now in the third wave of technology under the generative AI banner, for example, called conversational AI. The definition of exponential age is really how fast tech is taking off and how quickly humans can catch up to adapt to it. The speed of this tech is just actually vertical.
Yeah,
It's not
usually.
even this way, it's vertical. And so there's something called the exponential gap, which is the gap where humans cannot comprehend or even imagine how this kind of technology is going to change how they live, work, and play, and the ability to catch up. So when you have this gap, there's a lot of frenzy. There's a lot of there was an article in Wall Street Journal where people talking about this kind of tech is where terror and hope are sort of all manifesting themselves, right? So that's in context of generative AI. But I want to add one more thing around the exponential age. So exponential age is also a cluster of different technologies. So it's not only technologies like AI and Web3 it's on its heel, but also biotechnology, also manufacturing. So there's 6 or 7. There's a book by the same name called Exponential Age, if anybody's interested, by Azim Azhar, that frames this. So, as these technologies were moving in different directions, usually there's a hype cycle, and then there's an S curve where people start adopting things and it starts rising, right? There were many, many S curves that have arrived at the same spot, which means that exponential gap, there's many things getting thrown into it. So humans are going, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? Is my job going to go, right? Students saying, oh, look at this cool tech. This, they're making me take all these tests and I have to write all these, which is a bizarre system anyway. It's been a bizarre system for a long time. People just have to get through it. But that really frames where we're at. So the word exponential has got many, many legs to it. It's exponential relative to time. It's exponential relative to the ability for us to learn, the ability to use this tech to solve problems. All these exponential explosion is what I'm going to call it. But I tell people, don't lose your head over this. Don't think you can go learn everything in day one. You do need to reskill and upskill and try to focus on problem solving. So, but I'm getting ahead of myself, right, on how to sort of frame it. So,
well, I was gonna say, so let's start there, because for me, what you just put on the table is already has most people, panting a little bit. It has them like, gasping for breath about like, where do I even start? Like I can, again, as I started the conversation with, I'm having trouble getting through my day with my 3 kids, and I've got all the demands of my work, and now you've just told me like the ground may shift entirely underneath me, and I don't need to do it in day one, but I do need to show up. What are your words for someone to just to be able to just take a deep breath and say, okay, look, this isn't it's neither the end of the world or the beginning of a new world. This is just, this is a next step in the process. Here's how we can be calm about it, and here's how we can take that first step.
So first of all is to see where you're at in the moment of history, what you know, what you're good at, almost taking stock of what problem you like to solve, what problem you're good at solving, and how do you incorporate this technology to solve. I'm going to hang up.
I do believe this is the first time we've ever had someone go off screen. Fantastic.
Sorry.
We'll cut that part out, and we'll cut that part out in the replay. No worries at all. So let's take that from the top. So my question was, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed. It's so easy to just be paralyzed with, I don't even know, whether you are hopeful or terrified or whatever, it's what's that next step I take? So what's your advice for people to sort of, all right, take a deep breath and then do this? What's your advice for that?
So, taking stock of where you are in your career, personal path, professional path, right? I always tell people, don't worry about technology, right? They are tools for humans to go solve problems. That's how your perspective should be, right? And say, okay, what problem do you want to solve? And what skill sets do you have today? And make the assumption that if it is, tasks that you do that, you could do in your sleep or stuff, AI can do that, okay? Which means, how do you go to higher cognitive ground? And the places where AI will not reach is the real human, like, the Maslow's hierarchy.
Mhm.
If you think about the human needs, where human to human, like, for example, nurses, there's no way AI will get to the point where you really need to be able to touch and feel, right? That's, but there are many, many, many fields where your job, a large portion of it, can be done better by AI. So think of that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start thinking, okay, so if I could wave a magic wand and do my job where I feel really, really happy doing what I'm doing, where there's creative, right? There's creativity going on. What would that look like? So it's time for people to actually, I'm very, very hopeful. I'm very optimistic about the future that's coming, because I think humanity has gone through many waves of innovation. So reimagine what kind of world you want to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time for that kind of reimagination, and let your imagination take you to a place where you're really harnessing your own superpowers. Okay, so I believe each of us is born into this world with superpowers. You have a lifetime to discover what they are, to solve problems that are meaningful, and leave the world in a better place than you found it. Okay, that's the philosophy I run by. And if you think about that and you step back and you go, gee, what is it that I can do better than anybody else, right? Then you start applying to the fact that what parts of it can be automated away. So you have to have a thinking process. I'm really getting people to rethink their mindsets and imagine a new future. Don't panic, right? It's hard not to if you look at all the layoffs taking place and, students in this context doing what they're doing, educators up in arms, things are getting banned. The New York public school system banned ChatGPT. Italy banned ChatGPT. It's not the answer because the genie's already out of the box.
I was just say, like, how do you ban something that's publicly accessible like that? I just don't understand that.
Oh, well, look at what Iran, and I mean, there's ways to do it. You can
Touche.
cut it off.
Touche.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So mindset shifts are going to be important, and community. Two things. You can, more than ever, we all need to stick together. And I'll tell you why. Technologies like AI have to be handled by responsible human beings. Are they being handled by responsible humans? Very debatable if you look at big tech. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, we don't have enough guardrails. So what can one person do? What do you have control over is the question. Like, I can say, what do I have control over? I don't have control over the fact that they're releasing, these large transformer models where people can now go build. I mean, it's exciting in one place, like a whole new ecosystem is being born. A whole new set of jobs are being created. While at the same time, people are not worrying about the fact that they're using copyrighted work and they don't realize it. And then there's lawsuits coming on that. I mean, I tell people, I say, can you use your brain a little bit? Did you hear about the story about the Samsung engineers that took software? They took Samsung's software code and they fed it into ChatGPT to ask it whether it was correct. It's like, really?
Oops.
So look, right? So people are doing dumb things, but I think part of that problem is they don't understand how technologies work. So first thing is perspective. Think about your superpowers and what you would love to do. Second, learn. Be part of communities that says, how does this thing actually work? Ask the question. I promise you don't have to have an AI degree. You do not. You don't even have to have a tech degree. You go online, in fact, you can ask ChatGPT if you haven't done it already, say, how do you work? They're not smart. They're not smart things, okay? They're not smart beings. They're statistical models. But you cannot put your full stock into it. A lot of people think that this technology is magic. It's not. We are masters of AI.
Mm-hmm.
So you be the person that says, I'm going to go learn, oh, what's this tech, right? Go figure it. It's like a tool. It's not a hammer looking for a nail. It's helping you reimagine the world you want to live in, the house you want to build. Shift, mindset shifts.
So take me to let's take it to the learning space, either, as if I'm the head of a department of corporate learning and development, if I am a trainer building a new curriculum, if I'm a designer, or if I'm a teacher, a traditional teacher in a traditional sort of school or higher education. Let's think about what are your examples of the different ways in which something like generative AI can create efficiencies for this person so that they are then using their superpower of being that teacher?
So you're going to have to be a detective, right? And the detective, what you're detecting for is points of friction. So if I say I'm a teacher, okay, I'm an educator, and I'm looking at who I serve. I serve students, I serve learners, right? What's the most difficult part of my job that creates friction for my students? Because at the end of the day, the outcome I want is I want them to absorb these concepts, but also be able to understand them in context. Let's say that's your goal as a teacher, right? And that I arm you with knowledge to go out into the world and figure out what you want to do. Okay. From point A to point B, think about all the steps, right? You have to create lesson plans. You got to create quizzes. You got to go make sure that you're delivering the lecture. In the class, you got to handle, just think through the journey from point A to point B and figure out if you could hire a human assistant to outsource these things to, that's what AI can do. Okay. Like a real example. Okay. Everything I'm talking about today is technology that exists today. Okay. Reimagining this world. You're in a physical classroom and the teacher is there to teach her students. She is not distracted by all the admin things that she's got to do. She's in her flow, parting the knowledge that she has, calling on her AI assistant to pull up images, videos, audio that automatically are queued up because she told it, I'm going to prepare a lesson plan on World War I. I'm just going to make it up. As she's talking, the AI assistant is bringing up on the projector behind her scenes from World War I. Because if you think about students that's sitting here, they absorb from all their senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every learner is individual. I mean, the holy grail is personalized learning. Okay. But there is so much value in having students sit together in human. I really believe that physical presence thing is an energy, ecosystem you can't create anywhere. So you're sitting there, but on your own screen or on the large screen, it is communicating to you in the way that you love to learn. Some of us are audio learners, some are visual learners, right? Some like seeing text. Imagine that AI assistant is catered to each student, not one size fits all, but the ability to deliver that lesson in ways that each student in the room can absorb and learn.
Mm-hmm.
That tech exists today.
Sure.
It's a matter of creating the right architecture with the components in order to deliver that experience.
How would is there a way, you say that those pieces exist today, or that technology exists today? How would I access that if I am, anything from an elementary school teacher to, working in a Fortune 100 company? Is it as simple as opening up a ChatGPT or a Bard or something like that and learning how to use those prompts? Or is there other ways I need to reskill or upskill myself to start using it today?
So you can experiment, right? You literally go online. I would have said Google, but it might be, Bing might be the way to go because apparently Bing's winning the search wars these days, but we'll see. There's scores that are being kept. You go in and you say, show me all the videos related to World War I. Okay, I'm just saying, you have to experiment with this tech. It's crawl, walk, run. And you're going to say, well, I've got 5 students that have learning disability. I'm just going to make it up, okay? Can you show me how to do this from an auditory standpoint because they can't see well, or whatever issue they've got, right? Can you reposition or refactor the content or video that's clearer to people who've got X kind of learning disability? Able to go do that for you, okay? So it's, if you look at all the friction points along that journey of you delivering knowledge in a way that work for your learners, you will start solving one at a time. You will find a tech solution for this piece and then for this piece. Now, that is assuming that you have the authority to go do it and the school allows you to go do it, because a lot of this technology don't have guardrails.
Sure.
Right? You've been hearing that in the media, right? They're not enterprise grade yet, but can teachers push the boundaries on saying, I found something that can help me deliver my lesson plan? She or he would have to have the freedom and permission from the school system to go and allow for that. So now I'm going back to the 150-year-old framework where the ways of teaching come down from where? School authorities, right? And boards of education and federal and state. How much freedom does the teacher, the educator have to deliver it? Now that's in the public education setting. In the enterprise where there's learning and development, again, it has to be enterprise grade because you want to make sure that, this thing is not going to gaslight people, that all can be done. Okay. There's frameworks because you can bring these models in to be what's called on-prem and not on the cloud and train it for what you want. So it doesn't go off the rails. In fact, every day there's a new announcement. Amazon just, AWS just came out with it. OpenAI is working on, guardrailing their large language model. So we will get there. But the question is, will the education framework allow that to happen? Is it technically possible and operational? 100%. Right? A platform like OpenLMS, for example, right? Or you've got Moodle. They all have interfaces to plug those technologies in. But you have to give educators the freedom to go do that an experiment in order to deliver. It takes forever, right, to get technologies approved and deployed. That framework has to change in order for this to actually become reality.
Fantastic. How much do you think the framework will change before the job description changes? Or is it which is the chicken and which is the egg? For example, if we are, if we're now blessed with the ability to all have a personal assistant, when it comes to generating ideas, generating that text that you need, that material that you need, there's some incredible efficiencies there. And so do you foresee that job descriptions may be changing, or is it do you see the system being disrupted first and people saying, look, maybe we just rethink how assessment works entirely, or maybe the certification is totally redone? What's your thoughts on that?
I think there's a forcing function going on right now, because if you think about the fact that students, and they're leading the disruption, because they're saying, we're going to go use these ChatGPT. There's many others on there, right, on the market, to go write our essays for us, students will force this because they're bypassing the current controls that the current framework has, and the framework can't sustain it. What will you do if you want to protect your existing framework and students are going out there? Well, okay, so there's other technologies coming in. There's one called GPT-0 by a Princeton University undergrad who saw this technology come out. This is just, I think, even less than 2 years old. He now has a way of checking basically a watermark of whether somebody has produced something from ChatGPT. Is it perfect? No. I think these are stopgap measures. But will the framework break apart like just immediately? No. I think it's getting chipped away. And educators are trying to figure out, well, they will resist the change. I will guarantee you that, because you have to see the way the money flows, right? The money is usually where control and power is. I think this will also force the system, the administrators, to figure out how they can still continue delivering value to learners. By the way, if they don't inject these kind of technologies into the education system, how will you even prepare for those new jobs that are coming? You know, the statistic I've shared, I think previously with you, the World Economic Forum is predicting the labor report of 2020, they just refreshed it last year, is that there'll be 97 million new jobs created by 2025 and 85 million existing jobs will be eliminated.
Mm.
So you think about the jobs, the job descriptions in the education system. What is the teacher's job to do? I mean, that exponential gap is where any country that doesn't upgrade their education system is going to get left behind. So if you think about the US, if the US stays in its current track of its educational framework, we are going to get left behind, because I can guarantee you India is speeding way ahead. We're also doing work in India and we're watching, and it's breathtaking. Latin America, right? China, they are all on trajectory to become the hubs for AI. What that means is they have to educate their younger generation. You know, the average age of Latin America is 19, and in India is 21.
Right.
China is 40. They got problems, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got a younger generation that you have to educate. So we're thinking not just through K through 12, but the 4 years of education, you know, and the big learning happens by using this technology. So even in the classroom, sitting and giving a lecture is not going to be enough. You know, it's going to be students take out this tech and start working with it. How do you do that co-op mindset, right, of working with tech is going to be important. Teaching students to be responsible about AI has to start from the classrooms, right? So if you think about all of these parts in this big framework, there's going to be a forcing function, and every educator has to make a decision. I predict within the next, I would say 24 months, we're going to see a change, a big shift happening in how education systems are giving knowledge away. And I think there'll be huge competition coming, because what will be the value of a degree when you graduate? Because this is happening right now.
Oh,
we
yeah.
hire, right? We have interns and we hire students. They tell us they have not learned what's needed for the job. We have to retrain them for another 6 to 9 months to take on even a junior role. That's crazy, right? So by the way, we have 3 professors who are advisors in our training program, right? Professors of computer science, professors of linguistics. They see this problem and they're advising us to say, okay, we got to take programs like yours where we train students, and we're going into high schools as well. I'm like, look, who's going to take those 97 million jobs? You're not preparing the students here. You need a different education system. So we're going to bring them in as early as we can, because students are hungry for this. They're the ones on TikTok and Snapchat, and they see this tech and go, holy cow, I want to go do that. And please, let's not have students become more influencers. We do not need more influencers. We need them to come in and help us build these systems. So you see how this entire connected ecosystem, from education to work, and by the way, work is being redefined. Like, students are sitting there going, what's the point of me graduating when I can't even get that job? I have Ivy League students come to me and say, can you please mentor us? They get a master's degree in data science and they said they cannot find a job. I said, yeah, because your jobs are automated.
Right, exactly, sure.
Right? So they're like, what the heck do we do? I said, you got to retrain for yourself, and the school's not going to teach you that. You're going to have to learn on your own, which is a scary thought, right? How do you teach students to learn how to learn? Schools are not teaching them that. Right? Think about SATs and ACTs, and hopefully they're going away. Like, there's no point doing that. It's not going to prepare you for these new jobs. You got to be in the field. You got to work with the tech, but the education system doesn't have that integrated there, right?
Well, then let's. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, what do I want to say? I think the picture you're painting is it gels well with my view of the world, for sure. I think that we're on a path for many things to change, and it's a complete evolution. What can we give our listeners right now in the sense of today? We're here at the bottom of April 2023. And you're saying, there could be wholesale change over the next 24 months. If you, said, here's the 3 things that I want you to do today, either as a instructor or someone who does education, or as someone who's a learner, what are those 3 things that they would, should walk away from this conversation today in order to take those first steps?
First of all, is pick a passion for the space you want to be in. Okay, if you're a student, look around you and say, what are you passionate about the problem that you want to solve? You start there, because that passion will propel you to the next step. Okay. If you say, oh, I'll just be a doctor and engineer, because I'm like, no, that's not the way to go do that. Right. Find out what you are passionate about, problem that you want to solve. What's the problem, why it's a problem, and for whom, and what can you do better for that space, right? It could be in any field. 2, be part of communities where there's joint learning going on. There's lots of communities online, right? You go to Discord, or you go on LinkedIn, or right, pick your choice, but be part of the conversation, because what you're learning happens in group conversations. There is no curriculum out there that teaches you the exponential age technologies that are coming. Okay. And don't be hard on yourself saying, well, I need a degree in that. You don't. I'm a big believer that people with integrity and the right kind of empathy and a fire in the belly to learn and solve problems will do very well in this exponential age. Okay. 3, take on work, take on pro bono work. Okay. Because you can't, A, these degrees are not going to get you there, but B, you have to be in it, because the tech is changing very fast. So what you're watching in the media with the release of, these new AI companies and capabilities, there's no human on the planet that can keep up with it. But in that community, use your network. I call it the know-how and know-who. It's more important than ever that you make human-to-human connections, but be able to tell somebody, this is the space I want to be in. I love solving this problem. I want to go learn, how I can go make an impact. The community will teach you. You will be in group learning mode, and your dots will start connecting. It's like going through a forest where there's no path and the path starts forming. It's your path. Everybody will find their path. Nobody's going to tell you, this is how your job's going to look like. It's all in a discovery mode. Like those jobs I was telling you about, the 97 million jobs, they don't have titles yet. I'll give you an example. Conversational AI designers was not even a role 3 years ago. We started inventing it. We're inventing like prompt engineers, literally. Like, how did prompt engineer as a role get formed? On ChatGPT. Literally, they're getting invented. Grab onto that and go learn. Be in a community where, and you don't have to be a coder, right? We need people who know how to use the tech, design the tech, and code the tech. So I do want to demystify the fact that you don't have to have a technology degree or STEM degree to go into this field of AI, for example. Okay. Or even biotech. Yeah, there are areas where you need, historical bodies of knowledge. But if you're a problem solver and you're passionate about it, it will start clicking. The dots will start connecting. Okay. Community is important. And 3rd is mentors. Find people who are ahead of you that have been through this journey and ask for their time, and then offer something up. Okay. We are literally now, it's kind of ironic, right? In the age of AI, the human relationships are so critical. If you don't know the right people, you will get left behind. There's a book, actually, I highly recommend. It's called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. He talks about something, and I'm reading it right now, but he talks about something called the useless class, which scares the daylights out of me, because it says people who are at the bottom of the rung will not be able to reskill for these new jobs. Very scary. And then you've got, universal basic income, etc. But let's not panic about that. Look at where you are. Start doing and learning and keeping up. Don't pressure yourself to say you got to learn all the technologies in the world. There's no way. There's literally hundreds of AI tools being launched every day based on these core technologies. But be more human. I can't stress that enough. You got to be human. You got to go back to having conversations with people, right? Community. And then, so 3 things, right? Find your passion, be part of a community for the space you want to learn, and then go do actual pro bono work, get an internship, hustle. So I have a rising senior. Okay, he had to apply to 200 internships before he got 15 interviews and landed 5 offers. It's crazy. So if you're a young person, you're going to have to hustle. These jobs don't exist. They are, buried inside, and with the layoffs, it's not helping. But who you know and what you know and the passion, the fire in your belly will propel you. I guarantee it. It will propel you.
On that note, I'm going to tie our conversation in a bow here. Can't thank you enough for this both inspirational and forward-looking conversation, Joti. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I apologize. Charlie apologizes.
I forgot all about Charlie already. Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh yeah,
thank you.
Thank you much to Francis for chiming in today. I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation as well, and thank you for putting your comments there in the chat and on LinkedIn. Other people, if you'd like to, if you're watching the recording of it, feel free to join the conversation. I'm sure Joti will be happy to respond to your comments as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.